So friendship of proximity are basically friends that you're friends with because you're around them. And I don't think this is a bad thing, but I have realized that friendships of proximity a lot of times do have an expiration date. When I think about friends that I've made in the past due to where I've lived, those are people that are my close friends at the time. If you ask me at the time, are they my close friends? The answer is yes. But then if you ask me now, are they my close friends? The answer is no. What's up, fam? Welcome back to Big Picture Podcast, where we discuss faith, testimonies, and perspective while focusing on the big picture. I am your host, Susan Obi. I post these episodes every other Wednesday. Thank y'all for listening. I really appreciate it. And if y'all have been enjoying the episodes so far, what would be really helpful is if you left a rating and or a review down below. So whether you're listening on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Google, that would be really helpful if you left a rating or review. I always love hearing from y'all and knowing what y'all think about the episodes, and just appreciate even getting texts or DMs and just being able to talk through the episodes after they've been released. So leave a rating or review if you have been enjoying the episodes so far. For today's episode, yes, I am doing another solo episode, and I'm not gonna lie, I've been avoiding doing this like the plague. For some reason. So the first solo episode that I did, I think it ended up being fine. I got some good comments on it, and I enjoyed just being able to share what I've learned in my 20s so far. So if you haven't listened to that, make sure to listen to that. That was my first solo episode, and that was kind of fun. But I do enjoy talking with other people on the podcast and just having those conversations. And usually I have some questions in mind that I'm going to ask the guest or whoever is the person having the conversation with me, but I usually end up asking things that I didn't even know I was going to ask just because of where the conversation goes. So that's just been a really cool experience of just having conversations with people, recording them, and then hearing y'all's thoughts on them. So a lot of the episodes that I've done in the past have just flown really well, and just really enjoyed having those conversations and learning from everyone that has been on my podcast so far. I've been, thinking about more and more topics as time goes on. I'm like, oh, I want to talk about this, or oh, I would enjoy talking about this. And friendship is one of the things that I've thought about. So hence today's episode. The term friend can sometimes be used very loosely, and I used to think that, but I think now that I'm learning more about the fact that there are different types of friends for different seasons, the word friend it's important and holds weight. At the same time, there are different types of friends, so I'll kind of walk through the different types. So I was kind of thinking about who I would talk to or talk with about this, and I decided this probably is going to end up having to be a solo episode, just because this is something that I've thought about a lot and something that I kind of want to share my thoughts on. So I've kind of been avoiding doing this just because I'm not fully comfortable doing solo episodes yet, but it's okay. Life is about stepping out of comfort zone. So for today's episode, as y'all have already seen the title, so it's called Friends on Purpose, and I chose this title for two reasons. First, because something that I've noticed lately is that as an adult, it is harder to make friends. I don't know if that's just me, but that's just something that I've realized lately, that when I think back to high school and college, it was kind of like my friends were chosen for me in the sense that I was just always surrounded by people. So whether it's through activities that I did in school, and I mean, I've been in school, or I was in school for a long time before I started working full time. So I finished grad school in 2021. So I've been out of school for about 3 years at this point. So I've been working full time for 3 years. But in school, it's kind of like, I ran track in college, so I had my teammates, and then I was involved in various organizations. Then going on to grad school, I was also involved in organizations, and I had my cohort that was with me in my department. And then, just friends that I met at my apartment complex. And it's just, Mizzou is a college town, or Columbia is a college town. So it's like everyone around me was kind of basically doing the same thing, whether it was at church or on campus. So the people around me just naturally became my friends just because we all had, things in common. And I think that now, transitioning into adulthood and working full time, it's a little bit harder to make friends at work, at least for me, just because it seems like work nowadays is more individualized, so I work from home some days of the week, so I'm either doing that or I'm on campus lecturing. And I think that, nowadays it's more of like get your work done and then go home, and it's kind of harder to make those friends. When I was working in the office full time, it was a little bit easier to have those friendships. But anyways, I think that it's definitely a intentional thing. Like, I have to make an intentional effort on my part to make friends. So that's the first reason that I named this episode Friends on Purpose, just because I am noticing that I have to be purposeful. I have to be purposeful about reaching out to people or going to gatherings if I'm invited, just going out and doing things and meeting people to make friends. The other reason that I named this episode Friends on Purpose is because something else that I've noticed as an adult is that as I'm growing and learning more about life and about myself and about God, I've realized the value of being with people that are helping me grow, and that people that I know that I can help them grow, people I know that I can trust and they can trust me. And I'll talk about this a little bit more later in the episode. But when I think back to, okay, who are the friends that I've just had in the past, maybe friends I've grown up with or maybe friends I've made in school, I realized that the quality of friends is more important than the quantity. And I think maybe growing up, I was always ready to meet people and make friends, invite this person over and do this and do this. And I think all those things are good, but I feel like nowadays, I still want to do those things, but I'm not really concerned about the number of people that I know or the number of people at my birthday party or at my event or whatever it is. So I used to love just throwing birthday parties and just had a bunch of people over. But I think that nowadays it's more of like, I don't mind if I have 2 friends over for dinner or for my birthday or just to celebrate, things like that. So I'm thinking more about the quality of friends than the quantity of friends. And I've just been more intentional about keeping up those friendships that I know are quality friendships. So that's the second reason I named this episode Friends on Purpose, because I'm thinking more of, okay, the friends that I know that I love and appreciate and are there for me, that we've gone through things together. I can talk to them. I can trust them. I want to continually be friends with these people on purpose. So even if we may not live in the same city, I'm thinking, okay, how am I reaching out to them? How am I making sure that we're keeping in touch? How am I making sure that I'm giving them a phone call, or maybe traveling out to visit them, or just making sure that they know that I appreciate them and that I still want to keep the friendship, even though we may not talk every day, but I do want to be friends with you on purpose. So those are kind of the 2 reasons. First, because as an adult, I need to be more intentional. I've noticed I need to be more intentional about making friends, so be purposeful. But then also, secondly, the friends that I already have that are quality friends, I need to purposefully reach out to them and make sure that I'm keeping up with these friendships. So I've tried to make phone calls to my friends that maybe we don't live together anymore, or send out a text, or just make sure that, I'm keeping up with these friendships. Okay, so that's why I named this episode Friends on Purpose, and I wanted to talk through a few things that I've thought about in regards to friendship. First, I kind of wanted to share something that I thought about recently. I don't know if y'all have heard the phrase friends of proximity. So Aristotle, who is a Greek philosopher, goes through this philosophical idea where he talks about different kinds of friends, and this is something that just hit me a couple weeks ago. I mean, I've thought about this before, but this is something that I'm kind of walking in now that I just wanted to share. So there's this phrase that he coins called friends of proximity, which is basically what I kind of touched on before, but so I'll read it. An article, it says, this type of friendship is strong only as long as those in the relationship see each other frequently without choice. These are the types of friendships that form on the playground, the workplace, or any other environment where you have no choice as to the people around you. They're simply just there. So this is from an article on the Odyssey that kind of talks about Aristotle's view of friendships. And this is what I kind of touched on before. So friendship of proximity is basically friends that you're friends with because you're around them. And I don't think this is a bad thing, but I have realized that friendships of proximity a lot of times do have an expiration date. When I think about friends that I've made in the past due to where I've lived, those are people that are my close friends at the time. If you ask me at the time, are they my close friends? The answer is yes. But then if you ask me now, are they my close friends? The answer is no. And I don't think that's a bad thing. It's just called friendship of proximity. Without choice is crazy. It kind of seems like an illusion because, the definition is saying that you're friends without choice just because you're basically in the same place and the friendship is only strong as long as you're seeing each other. For me, it's kind of like, is that real? I think it's real at the time, but in general, when you think back, it's kind of like, well, that friendship didn't last. Like it didn't weather through different seasons. So just something I'm still processing. I think that all types of friendships are important. Some are important for a season. Some can be important for a lifetime. And both of those have value. So when I realized this, I kind of started thinking back, okay, who are my friends that I made growing up? And who are some of those people that are still my friends now, even though we are not in close proximity to one another? And then just realizing that those are the friends that I would call my quality friends. So when I talked about quality versus quantity earlier, those are one of the things that I define as a quality friend, are friends that were friends of proximity and now are friends that I still value even though we're not close to one another. And then I think another thing that I've had to realize that it's okay if friends of proximity from the past are no longer close friends. That's just how life is, that there's different seasons in life and there's different friendships for different seasons, and I don't always have to have the same friends in each season. But if I do see consistent friends in each season that I go through, those are the friends that I want to be friends with on purpose, because no matter what season I'm in or no matter where I am, those are people that I can still, call, chat, talk to, and people that I can trust. So that's just kind of something that I wanted to share. So that's one thing that I've thought of. Another type of friend is a friend of pleasure. So this is another thing that I've thought of too. I think even just the fact that there's different types of friends, I've always known that, but it's becoming more important to me now as I'm growing and learning. Because when I think about the person that I am and want to continue to be, to learn more about myself and about people, about God, human relationships play a very, very significant role in that. When you even think about how God designed us to be wired to love and be loved as humans and to be together as people, as human beings, we have each other, in the world. So I'll talk about that too, of why I think human relationships are important. But friendships of pleasure, these are friends that maybe if you want to go out or have a good time or maybe talk about the new album that just dropped, these are friends that you'd kind of reach out to. And I think that quality friends can be friendships of pleasure. There can be some aspect of pleasure in it, but that's not the only aspect that is keeping you in that friendship, if that makes sense. So I can think of that too in the past, of friends that maybe back then in college or in high school or at work or whatever, or friends that, I'd maybe text like, hey, look at this funny video, or hey, do you want to go out and get some food or go downtown or whatever it is, or friends that you have fun with. But for me, I'm like, okay, but are these same friends people that I would talk to if I needed something or if I needed advice, or would they talk to me if they needed advice, or do I know anything about them beyond what they like to do for fun or beyond what they like to eat and things like that? So those are friendships of pleasure. And I think that is needed in each season. I don't think this is necessarily a bad thing. Lately, I've just been thinking more about, okay, each of these friends are good, and I don't want to devalue any of these types of friendships. But what I know that I need is friends that are quality, that I want to, continue building relationships with, that I can grow with, that I can be myself around, that I can be honest with. This is what I'm struggling with. This is what I'm going through. And friends that will point me back to truth. So now I want to talk about why human relationships are important, and then I'll talk about 5 characteristics for myself that help me define what a quality friend is. So first, yes, human relationships, so important. I think even not even talking about friends, if you think about family, if you think about the people that you're around, that you surround yourself with, whether we realize it or not, people make us into who we are because of what we experience, and a lot of times our experience is based on the people that we are with. Human relationships make us into who we are. We don't necessarily choose our family. We can't necessarily choose our family experience. We just love them, whether we may not like them all the time. We do love them, but with friends, it's a different kind of relationship because we do choose our friends. So human relationships play a very important role in defining us and shaping us into who we are. I think that a lot of times that we do get influenced by the people that we are with, whether we realize it or not. I think this is something that I'm noticing more lately too, of not necessarily like, oh, this friend listens to this music, so I'm going to listen to this music. I think for me now, it's more of being influenced by how this person is encouraging me in growing as a person, of whether it's encouraging me to continue in prayer, or whether encouraging me to continue in following my dreams and my goals, or whether it's, friends that I know that I can have meaningful conversations with, of, hey, this is some things that I've been thinking through, what do you think about this? And just allowing them to pour into me, and just being more open with my friends, which is another thing that I've been learning lately. I think I've talked about in previous episodes about vulnerability. I mentioned a little bit about that in my episode titled What I've Learned in My 20s So Far. Another thing that I've been challenged with in my friendships that I know are quality friendships is being more vulnerable with them. Because if these are friends that have been with me through various seasons, and these are the friends that I want to be friends with on purpose, I'm challenging myself then be open with them, be more open with them, share a little bit more with them, be more vulnerable. So I think that human relationships definitely make us into who we are, especially the more that we open ourselves up to those friends and allow them to see us for who we are, and continue to allow them to speak into our lives. That is very important in defining the trajectory, or which way that we continue to go and move in life. So quality of friends over quantity of friends for sure. Okay, 5 characteristics of true friends. Some of these I've already touched on. I had this list in college. I think it was like 3 or 4 things that it was like my thing where I was like, these are my friends if this, and this. Like, I know that these are my true friends. I couldn't find it, but I kind of remember a little bit about what I noted on that. So I'll share a few things that define quality friends for me. So first thing is trust. So I think anyone would say this about any relationship, of having trust, but I kind of want to define what that means for me. Oh, sorry, I said 5 things. I'm actually going to share 4 things. Okay, so trust. So when I say trust, what I mean by that is the obvious thing of, I can tell you something and you're not going to go out and tell other people. Just trust in the sense that I can trust you with a secret, or I can trust you with a problem that I have, or I can trust you with this conversation if it's confidential, things like that. But then I think a little bit deeper into what trust means for me personally is just the fact that if I have friends that I can tell them something, and one, automatically I know, okay, they're not going to share with other people, even without me saying, hey, don't share this. I think obviously there's some times where like communication is important, where it's like, hey, do you mind not sharing this? But I think in general, there's just some things that I know for me that if I say something to certain friends, that I just trust that they're not going to go out and just say, like, start sharing my business, even though it may or may not be personal. Just having that trust of knowing that my friends can discern what needs to be kept between us and what doesn't. So, and this is just friendship that has been built over time. So I think that's the first thing with trust, of knowing that I can confide in you. And then the other thing is, so knowing that I can confide in you and it doesn't get out. But then the other thing is also knowing that I can confide in you and not feel judged. This is one of my things just because I've been working more on vulnerability and openness. Just knowing that I can confide in someone who I consider a close friend and not feel judged by them is something that makes me say, yes, I want to be friends with this person. I want to be friends with this person on purpose. This person is accepting me for who I am. There's something about being known and being loved. Being known and understood, and maybe in spite of the imperfections, still being loved. Only person, obviously, who can do this for us fully is God. So that's why I really appreciate my relationship with God, because he's someone who created me, so he knows me intimately and fully and still fully loves me. So I don't have any relationship like the one I have with Christ, like the one that I have with God, and it's just something that I really appreciate. It's perfect. And the word says that in 1 John 4 that perfect love casts out fear. So that's just something that I've thought through, of how God loves me perfectly, and knowing that I can feel safe in that. But anyways, that was kind of a tangent. But with friends, of knowing that I can be known, maybe not fully known, but at least known to some degree and still loved. Maybe not fully perfectly loved, but still loved to the extent of what we are able to love as humans. So trust is the first thing that's important for me. And the third aspect of trust that I think about is telling or confiding in someone and it not being used against me. So I've definitely had situations where I confide in a person and say, hey, this is what I'm struggling with, or this is what I think. And then later it's kind of turned around like, hey, well, you said this, or well, you're struggling with this, so whatever it is. And just kind of turning that around and using information that I just brought to you because I trusted you, and then it's kind of like being turned around and used against me. So I think that just because those are things that I've experienced, those are just kind of what I look for when I think about quality friends of trust. So that's the first thing. And the second thing that I think about with friendships is having meaningful conversations. So this is something that I've been told about myself, that I like having deep conversations. And I don't really think about that when I'm having conversations with my friends. I don't mind talking about anything really, but there's just something about talking about things that truly, really matter, whether it's worldviews or perspective, whether it's culture, whether it's God and the world. I don't know. There's something that I just value about talking about deep things that maybe there's not one specific answer, of just talking through, having conversations that have depth. I've noticed that these are my close friends, is people that I can have meaningful conversations with. And of course, obviously, we can talk about anything, whether it's just surface level things like music or the weather or things like that. I feel like lighthearted conversations are good too, which I'll get to in a second. But having meaningful conversations, if I'm with someone that I'm like, I know I can have meaningful conversation with this person, those are usually the people that, when I think about my quality friends, I know for each one of them, I can have meaningful conversations with them. Okay, so first thing is trust, and I kind of named 3 different aspects of that. Second thing is having meaningful conversations with. The third thing is being able to laugh together. So this is kind of maybe a little bit the opposite of what I just said. I think both are important, of just being able to find joy in day-to-day things, being able to understand each other's sense of humor, being able to make each other laugh. I think there's just something about laughter that is just good for the soul and good for relationships, keeps it fun and keeps it lighthearted. I think that to be able to laugh with someone, to think about someone that, okay, this person, I know that we can laugh together, that is just saying something about it can say something about the depth of the relationship, of we understand each other. So I think back to friendship of pleasure. So there's maybe friendships of pleasure where you can laugh with the person, but maybe not tell them your deepest, darkest secret, or maybe not tell them your struggles. I think friendships of pleasure can turn into quality friendships, but it doesn't necessarily mean that friendships of pleasure are good quality friendships. But I think within quality friendships, there is definitely pleasure in that. And one of those things I think about is just being able to laugh together and have fun and just, relax and find the humor in in life and in things. So that's one thing that I think about that's just really important to me. I love laughing. I love to have fun and just enjoy life and find humor in day-to-day things. And then the last thing that I'll touch on before I wrap up is something that I've talked about in the beginning a little bit. So the last thing that's really important to me when I think about quality friends is knowing that distance will not change our relationship. So I've moved probably at least three times in my life. So whether it's for school or work, I've, lived in a few different cities, and it's always a hard transition. Well, not hard, but it's always it can be a little bit difficult transition of knowing that, okay, there's about to be so much change. I'm about to have to start over in a new place, meet new people. And the Lord has just blessed me of being able to find people in community wherever I go to some degree of, having people around that I can talk to and people that I can be with. But I think that for sure, whenever I've moved in the past, I think about, okay, how is this going to change my relationship with these people that I've met where I am now? So when I think about, for example, when I left grad school, left Columbia, and then now living here in Ohio, I thought about who are the people that I'm actually gonna continue to be friends with, and then who are the people that are friends of proximity. And I'm realizing that now, and it's, again, not saying it's a bad thing. It's just helping me to define who my quality friends are, of knowing that distance will not and cannot change our relationship. I think about friends that I made in high school and in college that I didn't really know if we'd continue to be friends. That's another thing. I feel like that can kind of sneak up on you, or that can kind of be unpredictable sometimes. Sometimes okay, this person's my ride or die no matter what. But then sometimes there's people that, I don't know if y'all can relate to this, but there's people that you just continue to keep up with, but you didn't really know that, I didn't know that would be the person that I actually kept up with. I've definitely seen that in my life, and these are people that are now some of my best friends, and didn't necessarily know whether or not distance would change our relationship, but now I've found that distance has not changed our relationship. So that's just something that I really appreciate. So those are 4 characteristics of true quality friends for me: of trust, having meaningful conversations, being able to laugh together, and then knowing that distance will not change our relationship. This is something that I'm still processing, of just friendships, the importance of human relationships, and just how to be more intentional in making friends, but also how to be more intentional in keeping the friends that I have now. Another reason why I've thought about friendship and why this is important. So I'll say this and then share the big picture, my big picture, and then kind of wrap it up. But when I think more about the future of what I want my life to be and what I want it to look like, I'm seeing more and more how friendship will be important as I get older, as I get to go through life more and have more life experiences, which, means have more hardships, but also have more good times. Who are the people that I want to share this with, So that's why I think that the quality of friends is more important than the quantity. Because at the end of the day, when stuff hits the fan, at the end of the day, when life actually happens, having quality friends, I think, is what will save me. I think it's what saves people from getting too down, what will be valuable and what is going to actually hold water. So I would say the big picture with friendship is just knowing that there are different types of friends for different seasons, but that's okay. And then also recognizing that quality is more important than quantity, and knowing that human relationships are important. So how am I actively investing in making these relationships, but also in keeping those relationships? All right, so that's all I got. Solo episodes are probably always going to be shorter just because it's just me, and I feel like if I talk for more than 35 or 40 minutes, I'm rambling at that point, unless it's something that I'm really, really passionate about and something that I've really thought through. I really appreciate y'all listening to this episode, and let me know what y'all's thoughts are. Let me know what y'all think. Again, if you enjoyed this episode and have been enjoying the episodes, make sure to leave a rating or review Follow Big Picture Podcast on Instagram if you're interested in being on the podcast, go to my website, thebigpicturepod.com, and send me an email. If you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see where it says Be on BP Podcast. Send me an email. Let me know what you want to talk about. And so far, I've just been inviting people on that I think about, or if I see someone's story, I just invite them on. But I want to hear from y'all, what y'all want to talk about. So just let me know that, and I will see y'all in the next episode.